thinking?
Well, Rocky, not necessarily, but I guess we should.
Well, I didn't think Will and Icon or.
Oh, yeah, Will is. Oh, yes.
Just like on TV.
This is not the frugal gourmet, however.
And then let's see, another little plate to put this on, and then we'll put some,
Crackers.
yeah. Yeah. So,
See, I was gonna do something.
oh, I'm gonna have a glass, oh, yeah, pour me a little glass, that's what I need. Just, Lisa says so I can chill out.
Yeah.
I'm like,
She's a bit stressed
I
on the car
would
ride
be terrible as running a kitchen. I mean, people would just be like, get her away from me. Because I would be constantly saying, now do this, and do this, and do this, you know.
It's tough, I tell you.
Well, we have extra pairs of hands if you want
Oh,
to roll out
okay.
some orders.
Oh, you've got more than you're allotted to, huh?
Okay, you can
Got a
do,
third one there?
since you, and then I will put the. What's the last one? Smells wonderful.
Lisa, if you go to Down Under, or you go solo, or with a friend,
Hopefully my friend Desiree will be able to go with me, but I'm pretty much set and determined to go from hell or high water. So hopefully, yes, we're gonna go
is
together.
she a Salinas girl, or?
She is originally from Seaside. We went to RLS together and we both went to UCSB. So we've known each other, been friends a very long time.
She
And
came back
she
here?
just moved back to Salinas with her family.
They
And so
sold their house
she's
and-
been at this house many times.
Yeah.
Well,
Familiar.
it'll probably shape up as the months go by, but I know probably my stepmother would be delighted to. She probably would even put you up. She loves to have company.
Hey.
That's a definite plus, absolutely. Knowing someone is always.
Yeah, and she has some lovely friends. Unfortunately, they're
You
not.
will fall in love. They're in
Where does she live?
We will show you that because I have
I
some
warn
photos
you.
of the home.
Yes?
You may be losing a daughter.
For people who are stressed out, Australia has got a lot to offer.
Thank you.
And
You
the-
guys
the
had this
gal
before,
that,
and it was so good. I couldn't
The
resist.
gal that Janet met, Deanie.
Yes, oh.
Deanie has a daughter that would be,
Tamina would,
Tamina was,
She
probably
graduated.
a bit younger than you. But she has a son who's a doctor and a son who's an engineer, and Tamina, the girl, is an engineer.
Wow.
Bright family.
Oh,
Timmy.
they're here.
Wow. Hey, that's great. Yay. I don't believe they're here. I figured that, there was no way they were gonna get all the way down there and just a spoon for that. Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
take the tarnish off.
I did that with a copper pan.
Did you bring any crackers, Mom?
Yeah, right here. Not Ritz.
Oh,
No, I
I
decided.
have some cars, some table wafers, if you would.
I thought it was the shrimp dish.
Usually I put just Ritz crackers, but I tried it with this and it tastes just as good. Anyway,
Yeah.
Ritz is too common.
These are better.
It's not as fancy dancy, it's,
Did you make these?
yes. You do a wonderful job.
He's meticulous.
He's
still doesn't know my name after all this.
I'm meticulous.
I'm not as ticklish as I used to be.
This is so pretty, I just love it.
It's
It is.
delicious. It's, I don't know, how did you know to do that with the, deep fry the, not deep fry the.
It's leeks, because I read recipe. You know, I read recipes about the book and there's always.
There they are. Hello.
Yay!
Hello again. Welcome.
How'd you get here? You walked?
I drove.
Oh, it's in the garage.
Oh, it's in the. Jeez. Okay. How are you, Ken?
Where's Janet?
Fine.
Happy New Year. All right.
Right before I thought that. Did you know?
And then we stopped up at Peter Eichhorn.
Was he there?
Yeah,
You arranged that?
yeah. It's amazing how
Now, when
capable
are you
they're
going?
doing such good work.
What is
And
this,
what
not
shit they come
Yeah.
up with.
Oh, really?
Just a lot of just.
So how was the earth? How was the earth rammed?
Yeah.
Oh.
Somebody
Right.
just never,
Was
they
everybody at
don't
home?
have a
Oh,
clue.
everyone's home.
Yep, they were.
Many
So
directions.
the kid grown up?
Good to see you again.
Okay.
What, is the truck in the garage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that came in Lisa.
Oh.
I didn't listen to me.
Yes.
Okay. My God, your wife has
What is that?
gone out
This
of her
is
mind
salmon
here.
and,
What is that?
I could've,
oh, this
Coconut?
was leeks.
Oh,
Just,
okay.
hey, coconut sounds great.
Looks
A
like
little
toasted coconuts.
sweet.
Yes.
That's okay, Will.
Right.
I'll try that.
And what's this? Jesus.
That's fried eggplant.
hi there, Kim, my name's Rocky Rothbard.
Welcome.
What do you do?
See you again.
I'm gonna put that on the
What
potato.
am I doing here?
We'll see, I don't know.
Welcome, Simon.
Yes.
Okay, when were they here last?
I would think maybe December
Last year.
last year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what you're thinking. Yeah.
somewhere there.
Yep.
Before you get ensconced back there, we've had a little plumbing problem in the bathroom back there.
Okay.
There's no cold water. I had to turn that tap off.
Okay.
So we use the sink in the little room. The hot water's fine.
Okay.
What happened?
I think that nut on the bottom connection for the shut-off valve is just split apart. And it's kind of fitted onto the pipe,
The shut off valve of the sink?
yeah, for the cold water. We had company 2 weeks ago, and
That's pretty.
a young guy had just happened in back there when it started,
I'm
we saw
gonna
the water coming out from
Twice
This
baked
one too.
potatoes.
Right,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, my
the
goodness.
cabinet.
Just for a little, like a
Oh,
design.
just,
you know,
you know,
like
slow
you have-
drip.
That's very good.
And I put some
You
Teflon
should see
tape
last
around
night.
it and tried to tighten it with the nut,
I mean,
and it's
pure
just
sculpture.
split apart.
Just unbelievable.
So it's,
So, but peas or beans?
Oh, those
Peas.
are sugar peas.
Sugar peas, and new potatoes underneath, and then all this.
is
stuff on
Icon
top.
living in that,
Salmon and some
in your
tomatoes.
house?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's camped there.
He's got
It
the,
tastes-
it's
What are you cooking tomorrow?
I mean,
it's amazing.
As a matter of fact,
it was finished
we
enough to
just
move in,
San
but
Francisco,
like I
and
said
I'm
to
gonna
Will, I
go
said, you go back there in
to, we're
10
gonna
years,
go to Moose's.
and it'll still look.
Mooses,
Yeah,
yes.
I
Yeah,
love
it's very
Moose's, so
sad.
they,
Well, As a form, when you squint, it's fine. Form is very strong.
I'm not doing
I was able to
anything.
shoot some photographs,
Sunday.
but it's,
Looks spectacular from
Cook's
down
day
below,
off.
which is the
Oh,
only
you've
way
seen it?
we've seen it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
He's
stay
the guy
there.
that's selling
Stay
you
there.
some wine.
Okay, yeah. If you,
Have you got the cellar key handy?
no, that's a good move where you saw it from. So you've seen it from below too, the south side, on that big circle?
We saw it right after you were here,
Okay.
and
Only
then we
seen
saw
it
it
from
just
down below.
within a couple of
Yeah, well, don't
weeks
go any
ago.
closer, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
it's, from the distance, it really sits nicely on the land.
Mhm.
And when you go, it's just, I mean, there's a one by redwood ceiling on that he sort of finished diligently, you know, and it's little pieces forever on the curve. And the geometry that when you're in it, the hump of the roof looks right up and perfectly across the hump of the mouth. It's really quite nice. I'm very pleased with that.
The way you want
And
it.
the rammed earth is good, you know, I mean, it's basically, it's a nice material, it's a nice material, but, you know, it's just one of those owner-builder, sort of hippy-dippy, excuse me, sort of things, right? And then, you know, like all the cabinet work is, you know, looks more like an expensive tract house over in Monterey than, you know, what it should look like, you know, and it's, you know, all these arches and some dooley bops, and it's all out of redwood, which is quite beautiful, but, you know, but I had to do it, you know, I felt bad that I had seen something I had designed, and what actually propagated it was I was down in UCLA and did a lecture at the university there about 2 months ago, and after the lecture, a young man came up and gave me a tape, okay, and it turned out it was a tape that had that house on it under construction, some of the Post Ranch stuff down there, some of the stuff over by Mark Mills, and it looked really intriguing, and I felt, gee whiz, you know, if this group has been there and I haven't even seen it, I didn't wanna, you know, and I always find it amazing. I've been to a lot of Frank Lloyd Wright houses that Frank Lloyd Wright never saw. You know, he never even saw the site, you know, and I was just at another one recently, and I mean, he literally, you know, the people would go see him, and he'd talk about it, and they'd send him a drawing of the site, the topo, and he'd design a house, and he'd send some apprentice there, and I was with a man, I lectured at Washington University in November, and went to see 2 Wright houses I'd never seen there, and a very pleasant old man, and he thinks maybe Wright snuck on the site once when he wasn't there, okay? But the site was brilliantly sited, it was perfection. I mean, it was just really amazing how adroit the guy is, you know, but I mean, I've been to 3 or 4 now that he never ever saw in his life, and that's,
Amazing.
you know, because he pictured his intensity and caring and all this, and so not, and, you know, so I, you know, like I say, I've seen a bunch of things that people did and never did, and I always think that's sort of shitty, so I figured even, you know, so I've seen acorns once now, I won't go back, and like I say, stand below road, maybe, that's a good memory of the house. See Simon Switcher?
Yes.
Hey, it looks like a
Ken
Ken Dome.
You got it right, yeah.
Without the color though.
Yes, yeah.
He's gone monotone
Yeah,
now.
well, we're gonna show you Ken Doan's house tonight.
Monochrome.
Monochrome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's one of the few monochrome things in the shop.
Monodome is even better.
I was down over in the harbor there, where he's got his one gallery shop there at Sydney. No, but Glenn did a house for Ken Doan. I don't know if you know that. So you're gonna see pictures of Ken Doan's house tonight.
Wonderful.
He's he was a phenomenon when he started,
Yeah.
when there was, but he's sort of
Oh, yeah.
overstayed his welcome for the locals
Yes,
anyway.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I think the tourists are still buying it
Yeah,
because it
right.
is quite
yeah, right.
unique.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sort of like those are they computer generated sweaters? The things with the very wild, those sweaters.
Yes.
Yeah, so definitely a mark of Australia.
This feels so nice. How'd you get it so smooth?
Well, that's when I think of it.
I don't think it was ever this nice and smooth when I had it. No,
It
You
really
really
got
got yours a Bettina.
It really got chopped up one year when the caterers for our August party really used it as a
you're
chopping
not
Oh,
board.
really?
really,
Yeah, you
yeah.
went home.
I always put a board or
I always do too.
but
yeah.
Rocky,
Yeah.
bless his heart, he felt like, hey, this is my
This is
job.
what- yes,
And
right.
so the few marks here were from him.
Right.
But I always put a little board or something like that.
And
So
occasionally, a little wine spills over.
that you
What-
have
what
to,
What I do not like to have is blueberries or
Right,
something
yeah,
like that
right,
go in
right.
it. I mean, it
you
just
have to
never
really
comes out.
sand that
Right,
and
yeah.
then oil that and then it will finally leach out. But,
Yeah.
oh yeah, he would splash the wine. I'd be with company, you don't want to scream at him. You're going, you'd grab it like you do, grab it and make sure it's not dribbling off.
Hence the type of
Oh yeah.
applause kind of work nice
Right,
into
yeah.
that.
A nice visit with Charles Green's son over in the old studio in
Rocky
Parnell.
said
That was quite pleasant. Elderly gentleman, his wife, and had interesting stories, and it's a nice space. It was a detached studio originally, and they got it as part of the estate from his mother, I guess, and they added a house on the back. He's sort of an architect, but it's an admirable addition, but not.
It's a full-time thing for him.
Well, it's an avocation. I think, did he work for Standard Oil, and he had all kinds of
I
stories.
mean,
They are
no, they live there, they're
Yeah.
permanent.
Oh, yeah,
there.
they permanently live there, yeah. So they
Yeah, but they're
residents.
retired now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a Standard Oil, but that's why they weren't off Arabian.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. But interesting studio space with all this interesting carving. Charles had this big fetish for carving. Carved everything, right? The beams are carved, the doors are carved, the medicine chest is carved. And quite playful, quite fanciful, so that was sort of fun to see. And Post Ranch it's okay. We had a very nice lunch. It was very nice.
A bit
How are the
gimmicky.
plates? Were they have
Yeah, just not
interesting? Did
total.
they use
I mean, it's
interesting
much
plates?
gimmicky. Yeah, the glass
Much?
plates are nice, yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah, the food was A plus, I mean, that whole thing, yeah.
The men's room doesn't work.
Yeah,
What was
Contrast
wrong
with
with
the
the men's
materials.
The materials are all, do make funky materials.
Ta-da! silver.
Just about something big here, look at that.
Boy,
Mmm.
better not,
Maybe there's a reason
Well,
why.
special
on the cloth there, Roth Armel.
Put it right here, darling, on the cloth. Put the,
Tatiana.
Figure where a hole in it.
Don't make a mess of Will's house now.
So this is some heavy duty stuff here, right, you got?
Well,
84, that's 11 years, that's about right at the time that you.
that's old for a reason, but
Right?
oh, you know about the reason?
they've been cellared. Well, and, you know, most people drink them pretty young,
Okay.
but they should be interesting.
And this one's how old?
That's
Is it 84?
80?
Or
15 years
80?
for Cabernet.
Wow.
Mm.
Do you think that this
So is this
doesn't
you
make
to go back down under, or is this?
Yeah, I'm just contemplating whether or not probably made any reservations like for my stepmother for Christmas.
Yeah.
What did you say?
So we're just kind of
Leaks.
yearning her voice.
Right.
Are you gonna do it? And
Sure.
Right.
she's 82.
Very much. Beautiful.
I ate at Peter's.
You ate it, like, what did he feed you? Honestly,
No. You made it smart.
Well, it was
sound.
there.
That was a great place. Really enjoyed Australia.
So there's reason.
Quite special.
Simon enjoy Australia?
It is a different place,
Yeah.
no question about it.
Yep.
Bird sounds you never.
Oh.
are you
they're
gonna
everywhere.
have some wine with
Yeah,
your
it's
stuffing
interesting
now?
because that was one of the things when somebody asked me what was the most impressive thing.
Now that's a
It was
sweet
not
one.
just the sounds, but the birds. I mean, the colors, the nature, the everything,
Sorry.
of them, right? I mean, it
Really?
was
I knew you
Really,
didn't say that.
really quite special. That was the first
Have a
thing I
glass
said
when
when
you
somebody
like
asked me
that.
what was the best thing, right? It was really the birds. It really
Remember
marked it
bees.
memorable. Yeah, right on. Yeah.
My folks live
Oh, my goodness.
sort of north of
This should be
Sydney on
open
a
too, to 90
peninsula
degrees.
that, well, you went to Pearl Beach, right?
Right down.
Listen, I'm a
Island
I'm
that
in
sits
the
out
catering
on
business
Hook
now.
Street.
Well, I would just.
Okay.
If you would just sort of to move
You know, I was
beyond
saying now, you do this,
Line
and get it all,
Island, you come
but
to,
it would like,
Headland,
people probably wouldn't
Fort
last me
Barron,
very
Joey.
long.
Okay.
so it looks like Point Sur down
Okay,
there
sure, yeah.
on the spit of
Right.
land.
This was about,
And that's Palm Beach,
$4
and that's as far as
a
you can go on the peninsula.
Right.
Well, my folks live maybe 5 miles
And in 84?
up in the trees, looking
Yeah.
down that body
Let
of
me just
water
have a
to
sip.
Line
I'm
Island.
in
Wow,
that.
yeah.
And it's a fabulous view,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of bush around
Right,
it.
yeah, yeah.
They have a house on one lot, and they have 2 lots next to them, and next to that is a reserve,
Yes.
Sure.
they call it.
Yeah, they're preserved over there, right, yeah.
was,
So there's a lot of bush and a lot of birds there.
Right, yeah.
And for Ken to go down there to
This is
this,
kind of tasty
right,
too.
I mean,
This is what I'm
Sydney is a
making
big
my,
city.
Oh, sure, yeah.
but
It's called
the
Ochos.
birds in the morning are just deafening.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they
Sure.
really
Sure.
are deafening.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Actually.
Starting
You know
with the
that-
kookaburra way
this
back.
Right,
house is
exactly,
dripping.
right, yeah.
did you hear what I said about this wine?
No.
This is about $3 or $4 a bottle. I bought them.
So what are they now?
They were going, it's like a going out of business sale. I don't have any idea, but,
Probably can't buy them anymore, huh?
oh no. But, just, you know, by putting it down, letting it be in a proper cellar, it's just absolutely delicious. Like I said, most people drink a Riesling at 2 or 3 years, but the Germans keep them for a long time. We drank a 20-year-old Riesling at the Masters once. Isn't that beautiful? That's really good, huh? Wasn't sure what we were gonna get when we opened them.
10 years.
Well. This one I have no doubts.
You wanna decant that?
Yeah, please.
Very nice color. That's very pretty.
Did you get some weather down in Southern California this week?
Yes, the other house probably got 4 inches of rain just on Wednesday.
Oh, my goodness.
7 in Long Beach.
Huh.
They had a huge power outage in San Diego, like 70,000
You have another one?
people.
Or anything? We'll be all right.
I saw a eucalypt tree down. I couldn't see where it had blown from.
Maybe a better one.
I couldn't see where it had uprooted. Had some
Well,
It's a good sign when it flows like.
Well, no,
It
the
was
color,
like windy here last night.
it has,
Yeah,
Actually, it should be
The
full.
plane coming
You
in
should.
last night.
Want me to tilt it
That
for you?
doesn't describe it.
Lefty? There, that's the way
see
you
the
do it.
round
There were,
tinge?
It was one of those puddle
It's
jumpers.
So
Right.
you
I missed
don't
my
get that.
connection in San Fran
Okay.
with the delay out of Ontario, and I had to switch over to a
What a pity I'm not
Now, you don't,
14-seater
hold it over the,
turboprop coming from.
I tried.
don't get panicky there.
You and,
The other women were
Ew, look
kind
how
of
murky
you
it
too,
is.
in this county.
Look at that.
one woman was freezing.
It's
What about this counter, Rocky?
go,
I always thought it was a work area, but it still isn't.
we had a big discussion one time. and
Oh, brothers today.
And guess who won?
Oh, what was the score, anybody hear the ball score?
44-9.
Kick
Really?
their-
Yes, yes.
Kick their behinds.
I
Got
get
it.
I get a very expensive lunch someday.
Alright.
They were what, 17 point?
15.
15?
Oh,
Is
it's
Fifteen
it?
was
a,
the spread.
Who did?
wow.
And what was the other game? Who played tonight?
It was a
Oh, Pittsburgh?
bone from the
Was it
salmon,
Pittsburgh?
Cleveland and,
Pittsburgh played it.
from the
was it
salmon
Cleveland
that
and
I,
Pittsburgh
Yeah,
today?
yeah.
What happened? Is anyone out?
I'm sorry, what?
You didn't happen to hear about Pittsburgh and Cleveland, did you, while you were listening
No.
to that game?
All I know is that, I just watched the
How long were
49ers.
you in
You
Austin?
like that? Isn't that nice, huh?
Ask quickly.
Yeah, very challenging. And
This-
it's good
Excuse
with,
me, since
the house site is Agnes Water.
Mhm.
You know where 1770 is? Have you
We've
found that on the map now?
We've looked on the map.
Okay, yeah. A little place, 50 miles of dirt road with that weird thing they do in Australia with one-lane roads. Sort of lane and a half roads down the middle. You're driving along and they got 2 shoulders, so when you see somebody coming, you get off to your side, they get off to your side.
They used to
Fortunately,
have
we're
that over
driving.
in San Jose, didn't they, Rocky?
So-
Down there, you do it on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, that adds to it. So first they were driving for the reaction time, right? Because I'm sure you would pick the wrong side to go to, right? You know, but it's 50 miles of that to get to Agnes Water, and so it's really a remote sort of.
So you leave 2 tires on the pavement and 2 off?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, and pass each other.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then you're just blazing around in the dust, right?
Sorry, I
So
won't be
it's just,
driving, Mom.
That's pretty level country there.
yeah, fairly level up, I'd say. It's between Bundaberg and what was the other place?
North
Bundaberg
of
to the south.
Bundaberg.
North of Bundaberg, south of.
Gladstone?
Gladstone, yes, that's right.
Mike, are you gonna have a little bit of this at all?
What, no, the wine?
Yes.
No thanks.
But it's a site on a beach. It's about 4 acres, and there's a national park or preserve just north of it and one south of it, about 2 kilometers of beach. And it sits, so national park, here's the site. And they had a,
It's a dryer, Rocky.
oh. Okay. They had a
Sounds
cherry
safe.
picker at the site for me.
I recognize the
And so
noise.
we went up and down on cherry pickers to see how far we have to go up with the house to see the surf break.
Yeah, this is a very good one.
You like this one?
No, it's not sweet, that's not it. I don't like sweet wines. No, you can't drink it with that. You should, when you finish that, Mom, enjoy a glass of this, just a taste of this with your shrimp. And it is absolutely
It's gonna be
wonderful.
about 3,500
They
square feet
complement each other perfectly.
and a 25-meter
No,
lap
I
pool,
don't like
2-lane lap pool,
Wines at all.
and a squash court. And
What's the attraction of that Agnes Waters? I mean, there's gotta be a lot of,
It's very sweet.
it's, well, they've spent the last couple of years, or 2 or 3 years now, in Noosa Head, or just south of Sunshine Beach. And there's too many people, it's too crowded, it's too everything, right? And they sort of are projecting back in time to, what, it was like some years back, and they started looking, and they were looking for lots there, and the lots there were like 250, 300, 350, 400,000.
discovered.
Oh, totally, beyond, right? And so that,
Wow.
once you spend that much,
California.
money, you know, yeah, it's like Melbourne, I mean, it's unreal, right? And, but good restaurants, you know, there's some good perks too, and you walk through the Noosa National Park between Sunshine Beach and there, which we did a couple days. It was quite neat, but, they just want this privacy, and, this whole thing is, the house is called Equinox.
Well, they had thought it was gonna go like Noosa, but they were told it's not.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
With
but-
that
but
road
it's-
situation.
Oh, yeah,
it
they said
won't
it's 10
develop.
years before it
Yeah.
develops the road.
But the reason why they selected that site, another reason why was that's the furthest north you can get and still have good service.
Still get a serve.
Serve.
Because the-
Right.
The barrier reef will block
Right.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so he's a surfer and they're into sea kayaking. And they'll use the house in spring and fall. His name will be Equinox. And then I'm doing a house for him in Banff, Canada, near Banff and Canmore. And that's solstice, and that's winter and summer. And that's about skiing and
This is
bicycling.
where my sweater
And so it's rather interesting. And
Deep fried eggplant.
they're a couple that wants to be very private. They were very successful. And he was a trader, and so they're
What age are these
Sure.
people?
37.
Oh, God, they've got
Yeah.
their whole life ahead of them.
Yes, yeah. And I figure this house in Australia might be a 10 to 15-year house, depending on the ozone situation. And he's very fair-skinned, and
Medicine cabinet.
they're hoping that the house in Canada will be a, you know, a rest of life house. But, so we'll do Canada first, not for any other reason, just because that's where we started, so that house has been designed now.
They were sticking out.
And like I say, it's this interesting balance between the physical and the intellectual. I mean, it's a,
Little.
you know, they're very rigorous athletic people on one level, and then, you know, he's this total computer geek, and a lot of his, you know, things came through inventions and trading that he made, and he was an oil trader. And that's, and it just was too hectic for him, and he did it when it was right, and he was sort of.
He's
I
a
mean,
nutcase.
Yeah, he's a nutcase, yeah, I mean, he's, you know, he's sort of genius like nutcase, right? I mean, it was a game like being a physicist where he invented something about trading, and he knew how to do it, and he really did it, and he accomplished it, right?
So he doesn't plan on really working.
No, that's not the
He's made
agenda
it.
at all. He's made it, yeah, he's made it, and they want to keep private about having made it because of people's jealousy or people's whatever, taking advantage of that making it situation, because there's two, like I had two 37-year-old people that, you know, and she was,
Whoa, that's wonderful.
yeah. So anyway, it's gonna be pretty interesting.
Boy, where'd we go wrong? Are you 37?
Are you a nutcase?
Like a boiled
Right, yeah, either one.
Big deep one?
You got the nut part down, huh?
Right, well, not 37.
It has the strainer in it.
No, no, they're
And
interesting.
you're not
That's
retired.
perfect, that's
You
perfect.
know, I'm just tired.
Just see, I
And I
need
don't
to,
even have a lid for it.
I don't even,
How about you?
and you know what else I need?
About the same
To
as you.
saute the,
How old are
chili,
you?
the Swiss cheddar, and a
40.
little saute pan. The
Good.
biggest, what's the biggest pan you have?
But,
Oh, good.
they've been
No
real
problem.
reasonable,
Okay,
real decent,
that-
so
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
optimistic.
That
It'll be
one's
good.
easy.
This is better, yeah,
That one's bigger, that one's bigger,
Oh, I
but
like
they're
this
so
one.
heavy.
yeah, okay.
Here and down here.
That's great.
So, Brisbane's down here about 4.5 hours. Oh, there it is, there's Brisbane.
Oh, yeah, no whisk.
And there's, we're right here, that's 4.5 hour ride.
Oh, I can
This
whisk.
is- there it is. What I'm looking at, ideally, is the two gas concrete on Monday, or prior to the railroad is what we built here. Because we don't have any trestles, and it's really beautiful concrete work on trucks. And they're gonna, you know, bring it there and deal with the other. The cyclone 4, so it's not as bad as you get. And we wanna have the top floor of the living floor 36 feet above the ground. Okay.
Well, they generally do raise them up from the ground there.
Yeah, right.
That's the general
I know, yeah,
style
right.
of house there, but not 36.
Yeah, right. Well, we're at the canopy, you know.
Is the beach kind of well?
Well, yeah, well, there's a deal. So what happened was we're up at the 100 meters line, so we could build quad. And so as we went up to the cherry picker, where we got about 32, 36 feet, we both had the large cap of regular surf on the line of table.
And you're surrounded by rainforest?
On the backside, the back edge, you're right at the back edge, right there. Yeah. And the idea is that what I want to do is I want to do a false dune, which becomes a platform. You know, they use those precast concrete, sort of railroad ties, sort of cribbing for the freeways and stuff down there a lot. So I wanna build a form with that, fill it full of sand, put the pool at 4 meters above the ground. So when you're sitting on the pool terrace, you can see the sea. And then in that terrace will be the garages and some sports equipment storage. And then the squash court will sort of relate to that, so that 4 meters or 5 meters will help break the wind and brace the house. You'll have a deck level with that, you'll have, the next level up will be some guest quarters, and then the top level will be master bedroom and living.
Are either one of them a Canadian or an Australian?
They're both Americans.
With that sort of money, you don't have any trouble getting into
Right.
Australia.
Right,
Takes about $500,000, I'm told.
really,
Yeah.
make you welcome immigrant
Yeah,
these days.
but you don't have to worry about,
You don't have to have a desirable profession.
that's the way they have the immigration thing cooked. For desirable professions, whatever it was, and Ken one year absolutely wanted to be there in the worst way, so he met up with a pathologist at one of the hospitals, and her advice was, go back and learn how to be a pastry chef.
Oh, my.
They were desirable.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't
Good
want to
man.
go pathologist.
It changes every couple of years, the
Depends
list,
what they're looking for,
yeah,
huh?
what they're looking for, yeah, it's pretty screwy.
Oh, did you make pie?
I froze the pastry, and when I went down for Christmas, I took it down in a night chest and let it thaw down there in the refrigerator, and over Christmas I made an apple pie, a big one, and it was a good apple pie, Rocky, but it wasn't your apple pie.
Where was this down? Under you took pie crust?
No, down to
Oh,
Southern
down
California.
Southern California, I was just gonna say.
I gave him
What it basically needed, I think, was an egg in the pastry.
oh, but I haven't had egg in my pastry for
For
a while.
years, that's right.
But it probably wouldn't hurt anything.
No, the pastry turned out as well as I did pastry. But the apple just didn't have the zip that. it was.
Well, look, I'll come up here.
I cooked it too much, and it was just kind of like stewed apples rather than the individual little slivers of apple that are,
The filling was overcooked.
yeah,
It's kind of mushy.
yeah. And maybe a
It's a
little,
fine line, it's a
little-
fine
a
line.
little too much lemon juice in there maybe. But Ken didn't turn up his nose.
It all got eaten.
Yeah.
I'll,
In fact, we're still living on the fat.
I gained 8 pounds.
You're kidding. But you lost weight, though, since,
Maybe it's just shifted.
well, we can start sliding.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Good boy.
Otherwise, we'll be eating at midnight.
well, I'm gonna be like going back and forth here.
Grab my journal and take notes.
It would be high on the wall, then I'll be able to. That's what I love about the house. When Will can have his slideshow and I can still be right in the kitchen, or, you can, that's really neat.
Did you bring a screen, or are we going to do it on the wall?
Did he bring, what's the plan?
I have no idea.
Did you bring a screen?
I didn't.
I think
I guess
it's the,
we're
didn't we
looking
just
for
do
a,
the,
I guess we're looking for a sheet.
I have a screen.
Oh, great.
oh, okay. I need glasses. It makes me nauseous.
This is it.
Well, they're right here. But it's like, I can see, but it's out of focus.
Tierra del
And then
Fuego
I
or
get
bus?
seasick, because I
Well, it
don't
looks to
have-
me.
And I can't, these are dorky, but I've gotta,
It looks like you are in Tierra del Fuego.
The other ones have glass and the glass kind of
That would be great.
makes me.
I have bifocal contacts.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Besides for reading that,
It take a little while to.
it took a little while to get
Do
adjusted.
you
Yeah, I
actually
heard
have enough room
of
to
that.
carry everything you need?
So one eye
Your
is,
brain just figures it out.
so one eye is for uploading.
I'm gonna buy a three-quarter ton military trailer.
No, they don't do that.
I convert that to
Yeah, how do you
semi,
balance that?
No, I
living
have those
quarters?
called glass.
Do you need them?
Take your contacts out or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, very friendly, but a couple
Oh,
months, it'll
I-
fold out.
That's kinda cool.
You know, at first I used to have to say, okay, now,
Be able to carry some water.
you know,
Close one eye.
right,
I
but
mean,
now,
yeah, I think there's plenty of places in Mount Street that get water. but I think you'd always like to be able to have 100 gallons of water.
What's that for?
a year this year.
This is a little, decoration for the, I'm so organized, I've got everything really organized great, so.
Yeah, you're cool.
They sell them, they make a fortune.
She'll be on the PBS, one of those things.
She doesn't do windows or the kitchen.
I wish I could cook, but it's too much work.
She doesn't have the time.
taking notes on,
Oh, yeah, oh, absolutely.
The only
I'm
people
serious,
that
I'm
are doing
going.
Yeah, she's going even for a friend, doesn't go.
But all these.
Maybe I'll go with you.
No, that's a terrible idea.
So they have a lot of,
And you know it is.
We would get along, actually, if I was away from
We
school.
would get along if Dad was paying for it all.
Oh,
but they have plans.
Then, oh, we'd
Steam
get
powered
along.
well, no, I'd rather,
similar to
no,
the
this is your thing. Because it wouldn't be fair for your father to pay for it and him not go.
See, what I'm trying to get my hands
Oh,
on
we'd have to invite him?
is like.
Yeah, because
about
you know, he
thinking
always
about
has the
that stuff.
ideas. I would just sit at a bus stop.
He has his ideas and I'd have my ideas.
I just sit at a bus stop and,
Off the tractors and what have you.
Why
You
don't
know
you
they
guys
have to
just,
do it.
let me, I'll work up into
Still out there,
November
that's
and
what
then, I'll go to New Zealand for 6 months and come back and go to Scotland for 6
And then
months. How's that sound?
well, try to cut my nail off.
look for
Well,
a,
how you
I think
plan?
you should go
Maybe
to
build more
Scotland in
efficient
August, you guys would.
It's too hot.
we can build more efficient.
Okay, never mind. We can't afford it.
Rocky,
Yeah,
you have a projector?
Hitting me.
huh?
You have a projector?
No.
Ken?
Yes.
Shoo!
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Bad joke here.
We do have one, but
Was
where
I
is
s-
our
oh,
projector?
shit.
Last time he bought everything, I remember. Yes.
Why?
Oh my gosh.
It would take a while passing around the table.
A lot of squinting.
Well, that's what you masters.
Yeah, Rocky rented one the last time, I think.
Oh yeah, he did, he read it from Greens, that's right. I think I don't know.
Well, I seem to remember that. he had-
God, I for-
he got down.
God, if you told me, I completely forgot.
Outrageous amount of work for the thing, for crying out loud.
Good show.
Yeah, we did the projector and the screen.
Oh, yeah, you like it, you promise.
I regret that I didn't last year.
Okay. Well, maybe you guys gotta come down to Phoenix to see the library open. See,
Yeah.
What is that?
We
What is that?
plan on making a pilgrimage
Yeah, yeah,
to Mecca there.
yeah.
Maybe we should try to get down.
There we are.
Oh, well, we are coming down.
I know you are.
Okay, I just it's
You always
confirmed.
know it, yes.
I'm just saying, I would really like to.
There's a key list, you're definitely on the key list.
God, have you got the right projector for his carousel or
Well,
whatever?
that,
Huh?
he's got it.
There's the bullet there, Dad.
Got the bullet.
Wow. Ken, I'll tell you, you hit the,
That was what you said you would see. Great.
True gentleman.
God, I've been pissed at you that didn't. Thank you.
I'm sitting as close to the stove as
When do you think I'm over here?
I can. I'm closer.
Well,
beautiful, Scott.
you went up in an airplane?
No, these are a couple watt slides thrown in.
Oh, I see, okay.
No violation there at the Sydney Opera House, you got to do that. So you two guys wanna sit there? Go for it, I'll sit on the floor. Oh, do we have
Michael, don't
do we have the remote, Ken?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, oh, then I will sit on a chair. Yeah, give me one of those, Mike, that'll work good.
What is your part of it?
I got my pointer. gonna charge a big fee after this, you gotta do it all the way, right? So you want with the pointer or without Rocky, it's $10 more with the pointer.
Oh,
You know,
hey, listen,
if you want, here, see. See, this is,
oh,
are you impressed?
we're just.
Whoa, heavy.
Hey, just figure us for everything, we're not paying anyone anyway.
Oh. Anyways.
Yeah, that's one of those little laser light things, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I
look
get
at
the big
that.
bucks, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things, you know, actually, my friend Glenn Burke, I would be terribly jealous, because he came down one time and had one, right?
Right.
And he's, moving it, gee, that really makes a lot of sense, right? So anyways, we went in, beginning of October, spent 2.5 weeks, and we started in Sydney, and we stayed about a half a block from this photograph at the Regent Hotel, which was quite pleasant, and we more or less had an instant view of the Opera House after we checked in that morning. But again, it's the bridge and the Opera House are the images of the city, and the city's really about this harbor, and how that thing really works is rather amazing. And this is an overview, not too long ago, because that high rise in the background is a new one that was just finished recently. Our hotel was right there, so we walked along the quay here, Circle Quay it's called. All the ferries now work in the harbor, and we did sort of a corny thing, but it, I think, was a pretty intelligent thing. In retrospect, we took the Captain Coffee tour.
Coffee tour?
Right, on the first afternoon we were there. So like taking the Gray Line bus tour of Manhattan, right? But it really worked, because we went on the water and we sort of got oriented. We went all the way out to the edge where the ocean is, then we went up to the Castle Craig, up that back harbor thing. That was fun, it was really nifty. So
It's not a ferry.
not a ferry, a little ferry boat, and it made a lot of sense. But anyway, the Opera House is the first thing, obviously, of conversation, and it's really a focal point. And the competition was back in the 50s, and it was won by the Danish gentleman Utzon, and it was by virtue of being selected by Saarinen, the guy that did the arch, that he won it. And he arrived late for the jury. This was the view from our hotel room. So that was the first morning we arrived, and you can see it's the early morning light in the east. It's in shadow, but when we walked to the window, that's what we saw. And it's just a very civilized thing. They have over 3,000 productions a year in the Opera House. And the Opera House is sort of a bogus name for it, because the Opera House was put in a small shell, and the main shell is really a concert hall. And they changed that after Utzon left the job. They changed the program. It was always originally designed to be an opera house. And as it developed, there was more emphasis on the concert side. And that's in the afternoon from our hotel room, same view.
When I was at Berkeley, well, I was, I guess, one of the few resident Australians, and this is in the 50s, mid-50s. I had several calls, several people came to interview me to find out if I knew where the Opera House was going to be.
Really?
What was there, where the view was.
Right,
Now, clearly, these were not front runners if they
right, yeah,
had to
exactly.
rely.
Interesting, yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, I saw the second and third place choices, right, and they were dogs. I mean, they were just period piece dogs. I mean, they make Lincoln Center look like great stuff, right? I mean, it was brilliant. I mean, but Saarinen pulled it off the reject pile. He got there a day late, his plane was late. Went into the competition room and said, where have you looked at so far? And walked over in the corner and proceeded to announce that he had found the winner, more or less. And had enough persuasiveness to carry the day. But anyway, it sits up on the edge there.
Been along.
Bennelong
Bennelong
Point.
Point.
Right, and it used to be railroad yards, right?
It used to be a tram shed.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
It was the end of the line where the
The
trams
trams.
turned around, yeah.
Right. So it's at the inner harbor, more or less. And these are my views now, so we're just about out of the other ones.
That's concrete?
That's okay. What the bottom is actually, it was supposed to be clad in stone originally. It's precast concrete with a natural Australian granite chip to it. And then these are tile clad, you'll see in a minute. So they're precast concrete shells, and they have a glazed tile that's a very beautiful color. And one of the things that the program for this thing was to really broaden the scope of Australian building technology. And Utzon took it beyond anything they had ever envisioned that was going to be all about. But I mean, it's quite special. And this is the botanical garden right above it, looking across. And the key thing is that he determined it was to sit on this pedestal. And one of the things that made his scheme so unique was that most of the schemes had put a common fly loft where all the stage fittings are, and they backed both theaters to one common stage. But being on this beautiful site, it even meant that you put the fly loft right where the view was out of the harbor, which was really dumb. And so he put the fly loft sort of in the middle, separated the two theaters, and you walk along the edge of the theater, get a great view out of a porch basically, and then enter and turn on yourself and come into the theaters. So here's this new, this was recently added quite sensitively. This whole extension here with some underground shops and things that flows out of this really neat ferry area. And
Those underground shops underneath the walkway?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
shops and restaurants and all kinds of neat stuff over here. And then, like I say, there's 4 theaters underneath in the pedestal, and then the 2 main theaters up above. And then this is a restaurant that I guess very soon is going to be taken over by a really fine restaurant place. I don't know what the history of the food was there, but
It's had a sort of a troubled existence.
Right.
It's never been
you know.
thoroughly, it could be wonderful just because of the sighting
Right.
and,
Now, did you ever eat at that restaurant that's shown in the book you gave me, that's the one you get to by boat or seaplane that Glenn did?
the one at Barara Waters.
Yeah. Okay, well, they've closed that, and they're coming to take over this restaurant, is what I've heard.
Fantastic, yeah.
And that bodes well from what I understand.
That should be really quite special. So anyway, this is the whole final solution. When Goodson first did the sketch, he had this idea of this platform and just did a rough sketch of these sails. And then he won it, and they did, he thought it would be very similar to some of the thin shell concrete technology that was starting to happen around the world. Only it didn't work, it was too big. I mean, this thing's like, it's really deceptive because it's a 20-story tall building. I mean, it's big. I mean, it's big but small, right? It doesn't feel big because of the beautiful shapes. But it took them about 4 or 5 years to come out with the fact that all it is a segment of a sphere. So these are the shells now, and they're those pieces out of the sphere. A shear being something you could analyze, but the computer that analyzed this thing would have taken up this whole house. I mean, and now it's a laptop, right? But back then, it was like one of the first computer generated, and that's where they got the fancy engineers over to come forward. And there it is, after 3 years of intensive search for a basic geometry for the shell complex, they arrived in October 61, and spherical solution shown here. Key to the shells. And they just installed this marker last year. So, for 20 years it's been open, and finally they decided to put this on the plaza. And it's sort of this jaded look at the whole history of this thing, because when he walked away from the job after that change of government, there was a lot of pressure. He was, erroneously blamed in many ways, and he took a gamble and he lost. So that's the restaurant piece, this is the concert hall, and this is the opera house piece. And there you can see these segments were tiles from Sweden, and it's a glazed tile that was brought from Sweden. There you can see the way they glisten and the way the geometry all works. That's up. Now the sphere is allowed for this whole repeat process to happen. And there's a detail of that shell. There's actually 2 colors and 2 casts of glaze on the surface shells. And they're doing major restoration work now, I think to the tune of close to $100 million as we put into the building. And getting ready for was it 2000 Olympics?
Olympics, yeah.
Right. And so it's in maintenance and restoration, but very seriously admired. Now you walk along this edge, and this is like going up to a Mesoamerican pyramid site. And that's where it's always referenced that you got the idea of this travels in Mesoamerica. It's just in Mexico looking at the ancient sites. But this whole platform sort of culturally. And there you're coming around the base of the platform with other entries into the theater and great views of the city. Coming around the end. Some outdoor dining, some restaurants. Looking at the edge condition, walking up that element. And just the way you move around it and come to it is just very grand.
One of the most wonderful things about it, though, is the way it is used.
Yeah.
Sydney, it's right adjacent to downtown Sydney, and at night it is just awash with people.
Yeah.
And it's Sydney is basically a very safe city,
Right.
so it's, you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
You're never threatened.
We went to a movie one night. Do you remember what the theater name was? It was about 5 miles, what I would perceive to be northwest of downtown. Took a cab. While we were taking the cab from the Regent, we asked the cab driver what was the neighbor like, any problems, whatever. We came out of the show about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We went to an early show. And we proceeded to walk through industrial areas, through, every crevice that looked like downtown Oakland or something that you'd never ever think, It was just that you saw the markers of the downtown high rises, and then you were at
harbor or whatever.
Yeah.
Then he went over the bridge, and it was fun. It was really neat fun. But again, Utzon, and the whole idea is the original competition drawing had some columns here, right? This is a clear span of 200 feet. But just to arrive at this grand sort of entry experience of coming under, this is the drop off. So the cars are all handled underneath the site. You come under this great covered veranda that's under there. And so for black tie and for arriving at theater and opera properly, you come under the car drop off, are dropped off under that deck, and then proceed on an internal set of stairs that come up under the uniforms. Now, the platform, all this cladding was detailed after Utzon left the job, but it's pretty well done. They had a very difficult challenge to do, and they somewhat rose to it. Here you can see all the precast concrete pieces that were bolted together by the frame. The window wall is not Utzon's, and it's interesting because 1 week after we were there, and if you go in February, you might want to check this out. There's a exhibit on at the National Archive or Gallery, Library, I guess, of Sydney or of New South Wales.
Yeah.
They turned out that Utzon left 4,000 drawings when he left the country. And all the rumors, even that Arabs spread about he didn't have it worked out, there was no interiors, there were no window walls, God, it was a boondoggle, it was beyond him and he ran, is negated by the fact that there's these 4,000 drawings that at one point were tracked and put in the archive quietly. And now there's a major retrospective exhibit. And what they've done is they've taken the drawings and they've generated 2 computer-generated walkthroughs into the way the hall should have been. So they're about an 8-minute going to a performance in the real halls on a computer simulation. And evidently the one hall was supposed to have been, the main opera hall was supposed to have been gold leaf and red. And like the inside of a shell opening, or a nut he called it, you have the outer shell and the meat of the nut. And so or a violin in the violin cabinet is the way he talked about it, right? Had this phenomenal use of plywood sheets, and he had it all worked out, and unfortunately the owner of the company in Australia died, I think rather tragically. But there were going to be plywood sheets, Rocky, suspended from the ceiling, like 40-foot sheets of plywood, one piece. And he had all this technology worked out, so it would have been this whole, again, sound box like being a music box if you generate the music in. And then the other theater was to be silver with royal blue. And the two things getting back to this whole oriental mystification he had with things. So it's pretty wild.
Is the architect still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He's never returned to Australia ever in his life. He lives retired on the island of Mallorca in Spain right now.
Probably won't go back.
And I don't think he ever will, no matter what nice things happen. And, whereas the theater you'll see in a second is actually pretty nice the way it is. I mean, both theaters are quite pleasant, I think. But what you've got is, here's the shell, and it's this space between, this is the theater on the left, the shell on the right. And that's where you lose it. That space in between is not as grand as it would have been if Utzon had played the whole game. So it gets clunky along this edge, trying to meet all these wild curves and angles. That's not bad, but then you come to the veranda, and that does work. And they did come up with a nice system here for all the windows, and this is the porch. So you come up the front porch from the city, walked along the edges like I just showed you. You come to this edge, and what you're basically looking out at, you can see how it opens up the bridge. You're starting to see there a little bit. But this is how you enter the theater. And when you have the break at the intermission, this is where you come to, and you have your drinks and have your promenade and watch people do all that great stuff.
And you have that wonderful view out over the harbor.
Exactly. He's got it nailed. There it is, sloped glass. And all that glass, even with these guys, was almost unheard of technology. All the glass, I think, at the time came from France.
Look at that great little sailing ship.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's nice.
And that's the windows cantilevering off the edges. And there's view out to the outer harbor.
Is there glass?
Yep, this is glass right sloping right here. That's all glass.
No, how about up above?
That's all glass.
Yeah.
Yep, all glass. It's a huge skylit mouth that just floats out there you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
Is that nice?
Is that purple, is that?
The carpet. This carpet, one's purple, one's red.
Yeah, they guts to do it.
Yeah. But there you can see all his original concrete, his original platform, all the sculpted beams and things. And there's a really nice Aboriginal painting, contemporary on one wall. Now that's the interior of the big shell. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, it's pretty good space,
It sure is.
It's all the acoustics and the flying clouds and all that good stuff.
What are those?
Those there are fiberglass or plastic cylinders that they raise depending on who's going to be in the orchestra and what kind of acoustics they want. they can tune the space by they know where they move these things and what reflects, right?
Right, exactly, sound bounces off.
Right, yeah, exactly. So they got a rock band in there that night, Lisa, you know, Beatles are playing at the Stones, they put them one way, and then they've got some good Beethoven, they do another thing.
How big are those rings?
Those rings there, they're probably about 8-10 foot around. And this is the opera side. And unbelievable technology. I mean, people pay like $40 to stand in the back of the space. You know, I mean, these things, like I say, 3,000 performances a year in the complex. I mean, that means there's 10 things happening a day, which is mathematically almost impossible. You know, and I mean, we tried, I asked about a couple tickets and they were obviously, that was a joke. You know, they were obviously gone.
Ooh.
And that's,
Is that one you took?
no, that's not all one.
That's the restaurant on the
Yeah,
left.
yeah, right, and this is not in restoration. So, again, obviously it's
Now,
not.
the restaurant was recently added?
No, restaurant's always been there, but it's gone through management, it's been, you know, up and down, but now they're really getting a 5-star sort
I
of.
think Tony Bilson is the guy. The name just came to me.
Yeah,
That's the Christmas.
yeah. Now these are back to mine, so again, on the skyline, you have other markers, it has a Space Needle sort of thing, all of Seattle.
Did you go up that?
No, yeah.
Magnificent view. of
Yeah, I
course.
would imagine, yeah. And then what you've got is, this is by a guy named John Andrews, who is an expatriate Australian for a good number of years, went to Canada, got educated at Harvard, placed second in the Toronto City Hall competition, married the daughter of the winner and worked on that building, and as a young professor did some really significant work outside Toronto that really influenced me. So these are a couple of pictures when he went back to Australia. This is the American Express high-rise building. And it's a little drab and a little, you know, whatever, but it's interesting sun shading details and things like that. And it's more for roots of somebody that influenced me a long, long time ago with some other buildings. And, you know, there's a lot of outdoor spaces, some interesting things, but there's another guy in town. This is still that same building, and dated a bit by the 60s, but there's another guy in town named Seidler, Harry Seidler. You know that name? Well, Harry Seidler is a Viennese, came from Austria, and he came, was Jewish, and came at that point in time via the States, ended up in South America working for Oscar Niemeyer, and then his parents moved to Australia, and they said, so why don't you come and visit us, Harry? So he went down there, ended up doing his first house as a young man, and met what was Penelope's?
Her father was the leader of the opposition.
Okay, leader of the opposition, beautiful debutante lady named Penelope, and met her, and they got married, and he never left Australia. And as consequently, this whole series you're gonna see are some of the most beautiful high-rises in any place, but in Australia in particular. So this is an early one. And so,
This is the Australia Tower, right?
is that what that is?
I
Okay.
think so,
Okay,
yeah.
this is an early
It
one.
was the
that done.
first one of its type.
Yeah, there you go, that's it. Okay.
Revolving restaurant at the top,
Okay.
typical.
Okay. And what the guy is, Rocky, is he's sort of Arthur Erickson, John Portman rolled into this sort of European mix.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay.
Portland.
And had his a buddy there, Alexander, literally do that little piece. And
Huh.
the second night we were in town,
Of course.
there was there's a company that imports all the fine finished furniture, all the Alto furniture, and they say thank you once a year by a nice event for their architects and designers and friends, right? Well, Glenn Burkett being high on that list got us invited as somebody, and himself was going, and so we went down to their showroom in the Redfern district.
Yeah.
Okay, Redfern, and a showroom thing. We go into this beautiful showroom, and it's a meal like we're having tonight, you know, like 5-star plus. And we're going through the hors d'oeuvres, and it's socially correct, so we got this whole thing spread out where, you know, Simon sat on one end, I sat on the other, and I find myself sitting next to Penelope Seidler.
Oh
And
my
Harry was
gosh.
not there because of the fact that he was in Harvard lecturing that night. Okay, and as I'm talking, I figure out who she is very quickly, right, with this distinguished older woman, right? And had a delightful conversation, and you'll see in a couple of minutes, we ended up going to her house 2 days later.
Oh,
But, you know, they have a maquette that Alexander gave them of this in their house, and she's on the board of the Museum of Modern Art, so she comes to the States periodically, and it was a nice evening. But again, there are these wonderful spaces. He also worked with Nervi, the famous Italian engineer. So he and Nervi were good buddies, so they did all this great stuff together. Now, this is a plaza, and the tower that you just saw is right there. There's another smaller block here, but this is a later piece that's like the second in the series. And I don't know who, you probably know the name of what that one is, but that's closer to the harbor. But again, he has this wonderful sort of invention that's quite unique to himself, does these great curved forms, and opens things up in the skin, changes the shape of all the shading devices according to the sun. So they're really intelligent buildings, they just aren't about looks, right? You can see the way they really dominate the skyline. There's the first one, there's the second one. And the old and the new. And then the base, and then these interesting structural configurations, and a lot of good public space. So there's restaurants and plazas and fountains and, you know, just like real city stuff. And then what's this one? You know the names
I don't
anymore?
know that one.
This is even taller still, so this is more recent. And so you've got this happening, precast concrete, pretty sculptural, pretty strong, almost pay-like. And then look at this fun, playful thing down here. I mean, this canopy of glass, all these wonderful playful forms. You know, a really nice shopping mall. And his other buddy, Joseph Albers, did a little graphic for the wall there. You know,
Is that the head of Martin's place?
No. This is down on
Canterbury.
Florida Street.
so that's over a little covered restaurant.
There's the trees for your library.
Yeah, there it is,
Yes,
right,
huh?
yeah, right. Yeah, I did those a couple of years ago with the offices. That's the restaurant under the canopy.
Wonderful canopy,
Yeah, maybe this is an entry at another point. You know, and again, he takes a lot of hits because again, this is not kosher stuff, right? This is, you know, look at that thing.
That's great.
You know, so I mean, it's really, really fun stuff, so. And like I say, a three-level, very exclusive shopping mall at the base. And then, this is the first one, this is the fifth one in the series. Little sliver lot, and this becomes a flagpole with the flag of Australia on a very difficult site, and there it is, just wedged between everything. Getting a little exposure, right? And it's got all these interesting light courts that are carved into the narrow space, so while it's maybe a 60-foot wide block that sort of doglegs through some alleys, he comes up with this quite distinctive solution or image for the building. Different spin on the ball.
Excuse me, I gotta ask Michael, I need some matches, or I can't get them, just tell me, I can, right there. Oh, right there.
That's down on the street.
Okay.
And they're just pretty playful stuff. You know, the guy's got a good head.
This was really nice.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the interior one didn't work out. But it was really neat because when you went through it, there were great open spaces and sky and curved gardens. Now, this is their office on a nice site right with the bridge. So it's just over the bridge. And he first built that little building. Obviously, Harry's done pretty well by himself. So this is office. And they had to have some mixed use, so he put a penthouse for himself up on top. That's going into the entry to the office. And the roof structure is really quite beautiful. It's looking down through afternoon.
I feel so sorry for you. James got it on tape.
It's got pretty serious staff, really nice lighting, concrete ceiling, indirect lighting out of these duct runs, light the whole ceiling cavity indirectly. It's pretty nice thoughtful stuff.
Is that a multiple function duct or is that?
Yeah,
is
it's
it
light
small?
and duct.
Duct.
Yeah, the back is good. So this is Seiler's office. He's done very well. It's right across the bridge, north and over where the, you know where the Coney Island thing used to be?
Luna Park,
Yeah, which they're restoring.
In
It's
North
right
Sydney.
above. Yeah, right. And so he built this portion first and since has added. And this is where his offices are. There's partly underneath the interior.
Does he live on the North Shore?
We went up north. He lives up, no, let's see. Yeah, north of North Sydney, about 20 minutes of cab ride. Yeah, and
Remember the suburb?
no, I don't, I'm sorry. I've got it written down somewhere. But there you can see the view of the bridge, not too shabby real estate. And there's Luna Park that I did in Paris with. And that dock over there, have you guys ever eaten out there where the theaters are? When you go back, there's a restaurant to drive for right there, at the end of that pier.
Haven't been.
Write that down, yeah, right, over there, there's a theater complex,
Theater complex.
right, on the, it's, it's,
On the dock.
yeah, what's the prison section called, by the Regency? The Rocks?
The Rocks?
Okay, it's just, north of the Rocks, Lisa. And there's a theater in the front, and there's these long old wharfs or piers, and there's a really fine restaurant. Sorry. went out, took a cab out, and Penelope invited us. And we came to this sort of little jungle ravine setting, and this is the concrete garage at the top of the compound, and this is the site of the home. It was done back in the sixties, sort of little art parks and not bad art around, nice little concrete. And you come down this beautiful stone walled walk, across the bridge, to the house, and like I say, Harry's done well for himself.
It looks all like, Erickson's.
Yeah, yeah, very much.
Were you aware of Seidler before you went to
Oh, yeah,
Australia?
definitely, yeah. I mean, he's a marker. I mean, he's, you know, of the establishment, if you wanna call him an establishment, he's the lead, right? You know, little falling water cantilever action out there, you know, facing the west sun. Look at that thing, it's up there. Yeah. And the first house that he did for his parents is now in the National Trust. It's actually a museum. But just nice use of materials, and really he's got what he's doing.
Stone into it.
Yeah. That's the interior. All the great furniture, all these little maquettes, you know, I mean, it's an interesting history about the place.
When did he build it, Will?
This is built in the late sixties, early seventies. Then, of course, Walter Burley Griffin is the famous American that won the Canberra competition and went to Australia in the, right before World War I, and worked in the national capital. And he was based between Melbourne and Sydney as well. And now, again, his houses, he did an area called Castle Craig, which is a suburb to the north and east of Sydney. And in Castle Craig, there's a series, he did all of the land design and the setting. And here he's actually carved this house. You can see the way it's carved into the rock. That's the rock. And as you excavate the site, he carved the site, right? And he made an entry for the house. And that's the, you know, it's rock and, you know, sort of medieval almost. You know, but you go through this, there's all these houses scattered through this whole area. Other little ones being restored.
Good Lord.
Nice rock work, nice detail.
Sandstone?
It's that tufa stone sort of. What is the stone that the rocks are made of up on the cliffs?
The Sydney
Stone, yeah.
sandstone, yeah.
And it's soft evidently when you first break into it, then it cures out over time, but this is more or less typical at the time. This is over in Paddington.
Paddington, yeah.
And row houses, workers' houses, they're sort of one room deep and sometimes one or two rooms wide. And this is an area that right now to buy real estate is very pricey. You know, but this is the typical sort of turn of the century would-it-be house. Okay.
This is near downtown?
South of
Yes.
downtown a little bit. Over near the barracks, isn't it over near the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
further out than that, towards the cross.
Yeah,
King's
towards the cross, okay. And what you've got here is this little reddish, burnt orange house. Was a house, now remember the gull-winged house by Murcutt in the book?
Yeah.
Okay, the wonderful one? Okay. Well, the funny story I told you? Okay, that house was selected the best in Australia in a competition very shortly after it was made. Remember, Ken, that one that's got the beautiful sort of seagull roof? in
Down
the
on
book?
Maria.
Yeah, right, Moira, okay. Well anyways, as a part of the process of jurying a competition in Australia, they're very serious about it, okay? You gotta go look at it, you gotta talk to owners, you gotta see if they like it, they don't like it, can't just be an architect flashing you some neat pictures and say, hey, look how good I am, right? And so the head of the jury called the owner of the house, right, and saying, hey, what do you think, is this really? And the guy says immediately, no, it screwed up my whole goddamn life. You know, just miserable thing Mr. Murcutt did to me, right? It just really, and the guy's all shocked, like, what, what's wrong with the house, right? And he goes on and on about it, right? He said, you know, you did this thing, you know, and I just wanted a simple house, and I just wanted a place in the country and all this stuff. And he said, you know, by what Murcutt did, you know, I could not live in anything but something he had done. And so I spent 2 years looking for a new site, and then 2 more years and lots of money, and which you're gonna see in a second as a result of that search. So this is
Yeah.
the
Because
city
he had
house.
to live in the city.
Yeah, because he had to live in the city too, and this is the city house of the people that built the Gullwing house. This is it. And they looked and they looked and they keep calling Glenn.
Is
and
this the
say-
red part?
The red part, just the red part, just one of those little pieces, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so get ready, okay? So anyways, you come and it's just this little silly house from the turn of the century with all this little detail and whatever, right? You open the door, and all of a sudden the world changes. Okay, so you come through that door, and suddenly he's carved open and carved down into the basement, carved up to the sky, popped a little skylight along the ridge of the sucker, right?
Loving stairs.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
You would never ever guess that
Yeah.
it was in this.
Right.
So anyways, this is what maturity is all about. This is what Team 54 is about.
Look,
56.
without railing.
Yeah, oh yeah, right, yeah.
Ocean, nail and
Oh yeah, yeah, look at that stair, is that beautiful? But, you know, the light comes through the bottom, comes through the top. Look at that space. So that's the original bedroom on the side here. You want to keep a room that size, and that's the family office. Cut the skylight up here. This opens into the lower living area here. This opens into the master bedroom you'll see in a second. And just this terribly serene, so simple, so elegant. Little glass block to share light into the office that you see beyond there. A little bit of light changing now, and the light's all facing north because that's where the sun comes from Australia, not from the south. But slightly different time of day. We've been there about an hour, so you can see it's changing as we leave. It's looking up through the simple device, the louvering and the shading devices. It's all motorized, so that you can totally black it out if you desire, if the weather, the heat, or whatever. And again, everything that Glenn's doing in the moderate climate of Sydney has absolutely no mechanical systems. There's no air conditioning, there's no heating. But it's there. It's really a good stair.
What's the material, just a
Steel.
piece of steel?
Plate steel bent. It's very simple carved. And that wonderful column on the corner. Look at that from the view down. There's Mr. Murcutt. Look at his column that's there. That's the view from the bedroom door. So you're in the master bedroom. This is laminated glass to eliminate some road noise, so you're one more layer of insulation from that road noise. You're only, from here to the front door is only about 12 feet. And you've only gone through 12 foot of space here. It's a room about 12 by 24. It's really amazing. Looking at the beautiful column from the bedroom door. But that one little detail becomes the whole hinge point. Now you're looking down, coming down the stair. You know, so you carved out under all the way back down to the street. Kitchen
What's
back
up
there, dining room. What?
What's up the stairs?
Well, that's where we're
That's
coming
where
from.
we
We're coming down. We entered the doors right there.
No, up those white stairs.
The master bedroom. That's the master
Oh,
bedroom.
we haven't been there yet.
But we're,
That's where you
yeah.
saw Glenn standing.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
yeah, and I did somehow get a good view of that. That's underneath that upper room. Kitchen, beautiful wood finish on one side, the white cabinets, the beautiful Scandinavian chairs, the big dining table. Then you turn, and what you're going out to now is this whole north-facing patio. And that was one of the keys to the right site. You wanted one where you could put outdoor living to the north. And so it had to be on the north side of the street.
You wanted the sun.
He wanted the sun. And he pulls the sun in here, and all these little side things. And this is the view out of this wonderful terrace, a little reflective light here. That's
So
all
it's a
the
small
ponds.
house, 1,000 feet or something?
No, it's probably square foot, maybe 2,000 almost. Yeah, that's on, I mean, this big lower room here, that's a pretty nice sized room. Beautiful fireplace. Nice steel.
Interesting.
Store wood over on this side. High efficiency, radiates heat out here into these holes here. And this is the view of the backyard. That's the view from the bedroom where you were before. So that's the view across, and you know, what a nice vista. Got a little bit of scarpa there almost. With this nice reflecting pool. Just a little thin cascade, zero edge. Water normally dribbles down here, cascades down here, sound of water coming here. It's good. It's real good.
And this is sort of down in the Paddington general area?
Right in Paddington, 2 blocks off, like, yeah, it's real close to the cross. Reminiscent of Mr. Scarpa there,
Mm.
into the cemetery. And this is the view back now, so that's the bedroom up there, Rocky.
Right.
This is that lower level, it's a pretty good volume, you can see the way all the
Yeah, it's
overhang
not
is.
very wide, was it?
Yeah.
20 feet wide?
Not even, probably 18, 19 feet. It's just a typical thing, right? And then there's a garage underneath that, some storage for you. Going out the alley. It's just, you know, the way he carves the wall, simple little, little sill right there, all the things. It's just on the master
You got
bedroom.
the tin in it, right?
The
corrugated.
right. Simple little rail, little side light there, that you've got privacy and a great place to set the sculptures up. So you carve the wall.
This is the master bedroom?
Yeah, this is the balcony on the master bedroom. This is the view. You looking back, that's that little reflector window into the living room.
Right.
center detail. You know, so you can virtually come to zero, just have a line. Is that nice? Now, looking across here, this is up in, near Castle Craig, going up into the Inner Harbor. That other restaurant, that white restaurant that was in the book that you had, that was a beach house, ex-beach house? You know, in that book?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right down here. So this is that neighborhood again, north of, where is he? Give me a name of the major subdivision, sort of northeast of town, east of, North Sydney.
Mossman?
Yeah, right, Mossman, yes, that's it. So this is North Mossman. So right here is Ken Doan's house, the guy that did Simon Sure, that's his, artist, okay, and here it is, not too spectacular from the outside, you know, a little bit faded or whatever. But, there's Glenn walking up the street. Yeah. But, here we have this house, it's very private, it's typical suburbia, typical thing you might find in the Hollywood Hills. And, so you can move down a little lane to the side.
Oh, looks different all of a sudden.
Yeah, and some fun plays with stainless steel, again, no mechanical systems, all about louvers and fresh air and courtyards, and, you know, very Mediterranean when you see it in a second. You know, almost Mesian steel, very beautiful steel detailing. The stainless steel scupper detail, not bad. Pardon? Yeah.
What was that on the roof in the previous?
That there,
Yes.
that's a flue, it's a thing to blow on fire over and over the fireplace, just like a little bird. So this is the back, again, some nice stainless steel, just all bring down rain, water to use in watering plants and things. Nice juxtaposition, the high roof and the low roof. Little windows, little things. Little window here from the outside on the street, looking through a window on the inside into the courtyard. Very sculpturally strong. And here we're waiting for the cleaning lady to open the door for us. So we've run the buzzer, and suddenly here we are. We've entered that little courtyard, and it's a house about art. This man does art, right, big time. And there wasn't any of his art, I don't think, on the walls. It was primitive and all things that he had traded with friends. And look at that gallery space. So that's what happens if you come down that space. And I mean, it's like the Kimball, it's like a museum, you know? If you look towards the angle, he's sort of narrowing the stair that I'm about to come down. He's flaring out the other one, you know, those little familiar tricks. You know, living room beyond here, there's a courtyard with a swimming pool to the left here. Total skylit space above it. That's looking back up there. Master bedroom's down this way and to the right. I just entered the living room and it has a sliding glass door here for acoustic privacy with parties and things. A couple kids' bedrooms underneath where I'm standing. And again, just a little teeny light. Isn't that beautiful? Then this huge glass looks into the garden court, which you'll see in a second. Now you can see it with pushing the button, the motor closes, all the light goes away. They're all motor operated louvers. Yeah. Glenn, what?
They cast a sheet of glass up here.
Up where?
No, on the right.
That's about your limit that you can do. You can get a piece that big here almost. This is going down to the kids' room. You can see how it handles those big canvases. I mean, those are some big paintings. This is a view across the living room. So you can see that little arched ceiling of the living room. You remember that little arch thing with the water I showed you a minute ago? The living room actually has a sod roof. So it has earth and sod on the roof. This is off the sun porch looking out into the bay. And all the louvers and all the powered blinds. You kept pushing buttons and things when did this and did that. Up, down. Open, close, sliders, fresh air, whatever. And this is a view across that living room into the street beyond over there.
We're getting into some Ken Doan colors now.
Yeah, that's definitely his color, there's no doubt about that. View of the kitchen, nice little window out to the neighbor, little dining area here with some little room for privacy and whatever. Really nice line to the ceiling. And then this here with some security for the little kids, pool rules, about kids not being able to go to swimming pools. A little detail of the kitchen. Nice little corner cabinet detail. Corner cabinet hinges open there. This little nice little sliding view out into the bay. And this is a view now through a corner. When you entered, you came in the front door, you had this view. That was a view I didn't show you. That was a little teased view that you looked across into this courtyard, not having any clue from the outside that that even existed. There's a view from the corner down, coming around into the living room, a little tease towards that courtyard. And this is the view now from the kitchen into the courtyard. And those were on hydraulic, they closed automatically, they were on hydraulic hinges. And you can see how they would prevent, so you have your security fence like you need in the States here for pool safety. There you can see Simon's, pushing open.
Amazing.
It's thoughtful. It's easy, money, might not buy anything, right? This is not a cheap house. Oops. Is that empty?
Yeah.
No break?
No.
How about that? You have good glasses. Mine.
Over two.
Yeah. So this is the courtyard. It's a zero tolerance pool, so the water is perfectly flush with the deck. Literally same surface.
That
That's the
must be
master bed.
tricky down there because of the amount of rain that
That's
we
what
get
it said,
throughout the
when
year.
it rains.
Well, okay.
I guess it drains off. huh?
Yeah, I'll show you a little detail there. So there's that door we came out of a second ago. And it's all these sliders, similar like the Mauna Kea.
Right.
You slide, you open, you move, all that good stuff. That's that little corner window, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the little arched window. And there's the little drain detail right there.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so that's his drains. And there's three out throughout the whole thing. It's all a drain. Is that good?
Very nice.
Man's an artist. He's got it. And this is you climb up that stair and look at the view you get. Suddenly you're given that whole view from the outside.
Perfect tree.
And Murcott did the house.
Oh yeah, Merca did the house.
That's your buddy, right?
Pardon? Yeah, right, yeah, Merca's, the guy that did the last one.
Right.
And we're seeing now is the Merca series. Yeah.
And he did it for an artist.
This artist, right? This mega buck artist, that'd be sort of like, Peter Max. You remember Peter Max? Would that be a fair comparison?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yes.
I don't know.
You know, he's the super graphic '60s guy that did all the big murals and big whatever. You know, not quite as serious as Andy Warhol as a decadent, but similar magnitude of Jillian's. Just everything from clothes to luggage to posters to whatever. There's the roof now with the growies on, the living room. There's that flue you were talking about, Ken. There's that window.
Is that a signature
This is
for
from
him?
the roof of the master bedroom. Pardon?
Is that a signature piece for him? Because you see.
He just plays, he likes to do things that follow the wind. So you always see these very deep geometrics that will track the wind and blow around. And they're sort of old fashioned really. But, and that's the skylight that you were seeing with all the motor operators. That's on top of the entry, so that's the entry roof of the gallery. Dropping all the way down. There's Simon, so you can see you can be sunbathing up there, you got total privacy, you got the sky. And the sky is special, the sky is like the birds, it's got a good sky in Australia.
The quality of the light.
There's
Right.
something about Sydney blue that
Yeah, right.
doesn't repeat in too many other parts.
So now this is coming to the entry door to the master bedroom right here, another one of these nice little corner windows. And it's looking across from the bedroom side. So you can swim laps across at breakfast, right? It's not big, but it does its job. View from the bedroom, that big piece of glass, you can see how it just matches perfectly with the water. It just folds right up. That's a view from the bathtub in the master bedroom across the pool. Nice little sink detail. And this is down in the kids' bedroom on the lower corner, and you see that yellow and blue that recognizes where it's at. And the wall's designed where the window is folded totally back from the corner, so Simon's standing with you all together out there. You know, there's no window between her and you, and yet when it closes, it is. So it's two sliding that meet at either corner. So it takes out the corner, right? So I'm very confident, very thoughtful. And what's neat is he keeps reinventing himself. I mean, this man, just every problem has a solution, and there's no common answers, right? I mean, he's known for the tin, but that's, I mean, there's two major twists
Yeah.
here that really aren't about that. You know, he's very urban sensitive, he's very climate sensitive. And now we go to the master room at this point. This is in the Blue Mountains now. This is for an 86-year-old Chinese economist and his Anglo wife with silvery hair, very nice British type lady. And he taught at the University at Sydney, and he deliberated very hard whether he felt morally right in building a second house, and it was a long process. He was the toughest client that Glenn ever has had, and was very critical, got nasty letters, real challenging. Unfortunately, there was a happy ending, and we enjoyed part of that happy ending by having it delightful. That morning it had snowed. The house was finished about less than a year ago. Right when it was being finished is when some of the fires were, and they ended up, there wasn't a direct threat here, but the water feature was used to save 3 other houses in the neighborhood. And what did happen though was right before the end of construction, a eucalyptus fell through the living room. So a tree up on that right slope came crashing down through the living room. And that was a little disconcerting after they'd been all this way, but there was no sign of that really right now. So this is the master work of Tim. That's the yellow car is Glenn's. That's Glenn standing, loading up his camera. He's a shooter too. Yeah. And as you come, there's a garage and a studio guest area here, mostly a studio. And you come and there's these 2 pieces that are sort of tilted around the edge. And the Blue Mountains are these beautiful, severe, sort of red, rocky formations with eucalypts that give off the blue, sort of mystical mist about them. And if you walk about 60 feet over from the house this way, that's where there's about an 800-foot drop that goes way down underground there.
Those eucalyptus are just native trees,
Yes,
right?
they,
That's
all
not
native.
those-
No, that's all, that's sort of thing. So here now we have, the perfection of every proportion, every detail. I mean, everything is minimal, is lean, is sparse, is elegant. I mean, it just, it's total thoughtfulness.
Remember the town where this is, or the
Blue
area?
Mountains.
Past Katoomba?
Yeah, past the Katoomba. We went through that as a balloon racer, I think, or a car rally. I could find it for you on a map, possibly, if I looked on your map.
Well, the national park is immediately beyond.
Right,
The escarpment goes down into it.
into the, Blue Mountain National Park or whatever. So it's on the, it was 2.5 hour ride, and it was on the southeastern edge of the national park, basically. So, this is the master bedroom here. This reflecting pool is down a little bit. She was very apologetic that it's 3 inches too low. And she thought I was trying to get it up for Glenn, because she noticed it. I said, perfect, right? You walk across this little walkway bridge, it's the view from that little studio. The leaning glass wall. It's the view from around the back side of the house now. Water tanks, again, there where all the water comes from are these tanks, all drained off the roof. No well, no water system other than that.
Good rains a lot.
Yeah, rains a bunch.
Very prominent.
Yeah. I think
Just catch the water.
and here's the blind idea again. There you get the sun protection starting, the other sort of privacy things that way. On the back side,
So there's this
Yeah,
pressurized
chimney.
system.
yeah. Around to the guest bedroom end here.
You got that little chimney there on the chimney there again,
Yeah.
Ken?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. And look at the curved ceilings. That curved beam, so all the ceilings curve up towards the view.
That's steel?
That's steel, and then there's a curved ceiling inside that steel line. There's wonderful details, the little things here where the mullions go and all the guide rails are. Nice and minimum, nice and tight. Stairs up, some sort of hardwood from Australia for open stairs up to the back door off the living room. Dog there on the inside. Nice and simple. Simple struts holding up the edge of the roof, just skin out there, no soffit material, no extension, you don't need it, you don't need any of those things. Just get it down to the minimum. And the Ys of the structure playing against the Ys of eucalypts. So it's just this whole metaphor of the tree again. Look at that.
Boy, that is pretty, isn't it?
Well done. So anyway, it just sits on the land very, very softly. And here we have a wall again, right, which we think is a wall. And the whole indigenous thing, if you can talk about the architecture of Australia, is about the veranda. And this house totally personifies the veranda. Because what you see here with its louvers, its blinds, all exterior system. And then here's the entry, going around a bit. It suddenly opens and the whole house is just literally a veranda. This was a short demonstration because it was a cool winter day. The entire facade can either be screened for bugs,
You know?
Come the flies.
Yeah, yeah.
Little boys. Are they all the time?
Yeah. And here we have party day.
Which direction does this,
Well,
one
there's a
look?
little contradiction here too, because Mr. Murcutt, you're gonna find, is a man like we all are. He puts his shoes on one at a time, his pants on. And while this direction, the direction is the view, not the solar appropriate angle. Okay, so this is looking south into the park more or less, southwesterly, right? Whereas ideally for the solar, he should be looking the other way. And you can see that it was a sweater house. I mean, it's a weekend house at this point. It's a little bit cooler. It's got one of those trick wood burning stoves, but again, purity be damned a little bit.
Yeah.
He knew where the view was. He's the artist. He knew where to turn it to. There's inside. Is that neat?
Polished concrete?
Polished concrete floors, all silver steel.
You're not enjoying this, are you, Simon?
It was cold.
That was the cold part of the holiday. Right there. It was a simple three separate tracking systems. Nice little track there for the blinds to come down. That nice bridge you walk across.
Yes.
Fine automobile. Look at that connection.
Expensive to build?
These houses probably, we're talking $200 Australian square foot though. I mean, like I say, it's funny to hear him talk when he goes off about some of the Europeans that are more high-techy or whatever. And, but there's a couple other things you're gonna see up there. But again, the people are getting what they're paying for, they're getting perfection. They're getting master, they're getting, they aren't cheap houses,
Well, he's got a good steel fabricator.
doesn't he? Yeah.
He's got a Vitelli.
Yeah, yeah. It's- Look at those moves, they're just simple airlocks, so you got the vestibule, so you don't get the cold air in, just doing wiring. And then it was sort of interesting because, unfortunately, he's gone through a second divorce recently, and when we got there, we mentioned a woman architect that we had seen some work by and were curious about, and he said that, Wendy, yes, by the way, we're having lunch with Wendy. Oh, okay. Well, that's Wendy right there, the lady in red, and she's a woman about 20 years his junior, and worked for him at one point with one of his students, and they are deeply in love.
But of course.
Glenn is a high school kid again. But, there's the view from the bedroom.
Let down and last forever.
The doors are closed. Curvature of the ceiling, see the general curve. Across the living room, simple piano, living area, fireplace, dining, bar room.
So, how far is this from Sydney?
2.5 hours. He's already be like going up to Flagstaff about.
Right.
That's the owner.
It would be about maybe 80
Mr.
miles,
Lee.
Rocky, 80 or 90 miles.
Is this a much higher elevation or not too much elevation?
Yes.
1,500,
It's
2,000
higher,
feet.
No, it's at least 3.
It's right.
And Katoomba is about 3,000
There's a
feet.
slope to the kitchen in there.
Yeah, nice kitchen, nice slope there, the view to the north.
I didn't see anybody with a stocking hat on yet.
Yeah, right, yeah, no, that was
No,
not
but
good.
she's got a sweater on.
Right. I see everybody's got a sweater on.
Yeah, that's Mrs. Simpson. That was Mr. Lee. We had a delightful lunch around the table. There's Simon at the fire. This is the sort of airlock into the guest room. And look at this, the glass just disappears. That's the ceiling of the guest room. And over on the edge, the way it disappears into the shadow.
How much is in Australian dollars? You said 200 Australian dollars.
It would be probably about $150, $160 an hour. Simple bathroom, very humble. Open window, nice vent details. You pull these up and you want air to circulate through.
Great.
And this is Pearl Beach. So we went then to another site after the weekend, and this is a house under construction, a small modest house for a retired school teacher, writer, I think, a lady. And again, it was immediate deja vu. Here's a simple little house, very tight budget,
and they've been working on it for about 7 months. And it sits overlooking the beach, very simple, basic set of drawings. And our little bridge here, with ramped access for the father who's in a wheelchair. You know, simple little great room sort of thing, a bedroom here, and a suite for the father underneath. But again, there's Glenn reversing the job, he's been to the site about 4 or 5 times. And there's the house. And it's all recycled wood, so it's sort of the Peter Eichhorn theory here. This person wanted recycled wood. And Glenn said it cost so bloody much to do it, but that was the principle of the lady that she wanted to be. So they had to find it, and yet then they resurfaced it all. So it's all Australian hardwood, totally resurfaced, totally milled. And they're there working out the same sort of problems, and you know, that day I learned that I learned it before obviously, but again, these mythical things when you're at distance, right? You know, and everybody else is always, how did they do it, right? But, I was a fly on the wall for about 2 hours of discussion with the contractor, and it's the same sort of scratch your head, and oh shit, we forgot about that. And then, what do we do here? Maybe it goes down, maybe it goes up, so that was. So here's the day at the zoo. The third day we were there after the Blue Mountains, we took the ferry across in the morning and went to the zoo.
Saranga Park?
Yep, you got it. And this was where you donated $2 or something, and the caretaker, you couldn't touch them, but they took your picture with the koalas. So this is the koala view. Pretty dippy, drunk animals.
Oh, okay.
You were there what month?
October.
So it was just breaking spring,
Yeah,
huh?
just breaking spring, yeah, exactly.
Yay.
Cool, most days, or comfortable? Cool, Simon?
Well, you saw me in shorts, and you also
Right.
saw me in sweatshirts. and stuff.
Variable.
Very, very uneven. And this is
How you doing?
lizard. Yeah, the big monitor.
Oh, lizard.
See the lizard there?
Fine.
There's
Well,
a lizard
I
right
just-
there.
Oh, yeah.
That was at the Seidler house, yeah.
Albie's house.
This is Delby's house.
Is that another head in the center looking there?
No, I think it's just that one. It's just right there.
Another one,
Well.
But it was about 3 foot
we only
long.
saw one.
to the right.
Yeah, I don't think so. We just saw the one. It was about 3 foot long.
That's his foot.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
fair. So then we flew to Canberra because I was interested in, after all these years, of what the city was like. And I was, quite frankly, a bit disappointed. The plan, without the buildings by him was a bit disappointing and a bit extended. And this is the new national capital, which was the next biggest competition since the Sydney Opera House. It's a $1 billion building. It was finished for the bicentennial or centennial of Australia. What happened?
Bicentennial.
Bicentennial of
Yeah.
Australia.
What
Would
is
that been
that?
about 1989?
What's that little needle?
This is, okay, in the plan by Griffin was all based on circles. Okay, all these circles, and the mound of this major circle that was the center of the whole city plan was to be the national capital. So that point is the center point of the big circle where all the government buildings are.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
the scheme is an underground building basically buried by this earth
Oh
mound,
my
replacing
goodness.
landscape with this huge stainless steel kachinga with the Australian flag flying over it. And like I say, it's a bit overwrought in our mind. It photographs much better than it feels. Because here you can walk up on the roof and get a view out across the landscape of the city. It's the big flagpole. It isn't the St. Louis Arch. It's not nearly as graceful. And the roofscapes you see from above are pretty mediocre, to say the least. This is the roof of Parliament, or whatever the chambers are. This is one of the chambers. But it's, you're looking out and it just, it's like roofs. What's this all about? And then, but this is
Very
looking across the city, okay? And there's a lot of folk art and things. This is an Aboriginal painting here, stone. This is the main axis of the city across Walter Burley Griffin Lake out here. The commercial area is over here. And it's a big government city. It's one of these remote.
How far is that from Sydney?
Hours airplane flight, wasn't it? Sorry?
Yeah, about 120 miles.
Yeah.
Michael, do you have
So,
Has it always been the capital?
always in the capital since 1900 or 1920.
Yeah,
I think
but it's one of those
When I saw
built
some of
capitals.
those
Yeah,
lines,
like
no one-
Brazilian.
we can
I
improvise.
mean, you
Really
could look,
speaking.
you could go,
I just realized
take
when
a
I'm
nap in the middle of the street.
cut these
Right.
Truly, no one, I mean, there's just no people there.
That land looks like an.
Just the legislators, or
Yeah.
the lobbyists.
And they don't live there, they live in Sydney.
Yeah, the
Without
governor,
commute.
yeah, the head governor lives in Sydney off the harbor, I think, right now. But you come up to this veranda, and again, it's the veranda idea, so here's the veranda. Back is a metaphor for the country and the house of the country. So you have this front veranda porch as you enter the building. War Memorial's down at that end across the way, across the lake. And they have National Art Gallery and the Supreme Court and all the things you'd expect. Classic old hotel done almost in the Writing style, the old Hyatt there, which is quite pleasant at lunch there. This is the Aboriginal piece at the entry plaza. Again, unfortunately, Jergolo was in his high sort of Italian period, fascist, right? I mean, it's decadent beyond, it's $1 billion, and to me, it's really deadly. I mean, here's such a spirited country that's so much about freedom. I mean, and, Utzon got it so much more correct than Jergolo. I mean, look at this thing, it's like you're living in a mausoleum, I mean, but it's not lacking for bucks. I mean, and I guess it's a lot of the precious stone of the country. He used the hardwoods that you can see here. I mean, he really did a number. But it just, it had a self-consciousness, I guess I'd say, about it, and that's my feeling very much about our capital, about Rome. I mean, Rome and Washington D.C. and this building, not Canberra, but this building have that arrogance about sort of a self-pretentiousness. The courtyards up here, they're okay, but they're just, but then you got too many miles of this, just pretty uninspired stuff, and this is one of the chambers of the house.
The opera house.
And then this is a little church that he did, same architect, he now is expatriated to Australia, he lives there. And it's a little church in Canberra that he did as well. And again, these photos make it look much, much better than it was. And this is interesting because one thing we learned in Australia is they are very bureaucratic.
Yes.
They're very, very heavy into this is a tribute to that. This is the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Information and Inquiries, Unit 5. Okay. This is by the same guy, John Andrews, who I said influenced me earlier that was in Canada at the time.
Right.
And this goes on and on. This is bigger than the Pentagon by about half again. It's just about statistics. There's the building. Okay, these are all that's 2 city blocks. Those are all office buildings on arms, and it's all about statistics.
How many people live in Australia?
Right, I don't know, right?
17 million.
17.5 million.
Right.
Same as Canada, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, but it was precast concrete, and again,
Boy, they must have a hell of a record on everybody,
yeah, right. Yeah, but
especially when you think of the computer, it gets stored on a disk.
yeah, the gardens are pretty grim, and like you say, he just doesn't have the magic, and it's not nearly the thought of detail or whatever there. But anyway, so to Melbourne, a very pleasant surprise because all I've ever heard really talked about big time was Sydney. Sydney is the Jewel, Sydney is the San Francisco, Sydney is the Vancouver. And what we found in Montreal was a city that's much more like Montreal, or Melbourne, excuse me, is Montreal or Toronto. Really substantial, very ethnically mixed, extremely interesting city. And this is typical housing in that nature, not unlike the Paddington housing. But this is typical Australia, pretty traditional, almost Victorian. Use of tin very early. Tin was an indigenous material, it came on boats and became weighted weatherproof. And just simple neighborhoods. And Walter Riley Griffin hung out there as well. And he did a series of incinerators. At the time it was not a theater, it was an incinerator. And we tracked down one of the incinerators, and again, very Wrightian. Sort of fun little looks at geometries and things like that. This is about to be restored, not as an incinerator, but architecture restored. It is a nice little community theater house. And Walter Riley Griffin worked on the campus at the University of Melbourne, which was a Gothic piece here. This is a church that he did not do, but it's part of a Newman College at the thing, and this is the garden by Walter Riley Griffin. And this is my regret that they weren't clever enough to let him do the government buildings, because this is what he would have done for the Capitol buildings. I mean, this is really primo Walter Riley Griffin, right? So what you have is housing arms forming a courtyard, grass quad or whatever, and at the knuckle is the cafetorium or the dining hall. Look at these great stonework, this great Gothic sort of thing playing against that church that was there. The copper detailing, the stone.
It's all stone.
It's all stone and cut stone. I mean, you get a flair. This is the young man, this is Ed Ures, and he's from Geelong at the Deakin University. And he was the student I told you last year that had just come to work for me. And Ed
The
just,
guy you met in Montana?
you got it. And what are we doing? You're looking down over there, and I'm asking Ed to look at the stone intelligently, so I can take this picture of the stone.
I think you're warming your backside, Simon.
Right, you're in the sun,
I
right?
think you're absorbing some sun like a lizard.
But isn't that a nice stone? I mean, it just captures the whole
So
spirit.
you keep going.
Yeah.
This is downtown Melbourne.
Yep, downtown
basically,
Melbourne,
yeah.
exactly, right off
And
downtown.
north side.
This is,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's the next
oh,
country south.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way on the bottom.
that's the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Southeast.
Oh, okay.
So it was a real trick to get her there, Rocky.
I can imagine.
You know, so anyway, this is
Probably
the,
told you were flying north.
right. And our friend Zeidler shows up again. This is a shell building on the corner of downtown. And it's a interesting building. Look at that great, skyscape. I mean, the guy really sculpts these buildings. He's really having fun.
That's exciting, though.
And, I mean,
Let's show
yeah. So he's a cool dude. So he has a major building there. That's the base of it.
Most of these sculptures.
Right. Yeah. This great corner column. Look at what it fastens down and wraps into the thing. Simon all bundled up, just short it down.
I got some down pants and stuff. I'll send you back here next time.
Right.
Janet will wear it.
But just the lobby space, it was,
Well,
real
I can't
culture,
get into
real
it, so I
sophisticated.
Was that like Shell Oil back there?
Yeah, that was shell oil, that's what you got. Now, this is the other side of Mr. Norcutt too. That becomes a moral dilemma. Okay, this is,
You briefed me about this,
yeah.
guys, about this building.
yes,
yeah.
right, okay, this is, what was that called? Rahim? Rahim.
Run.
You've heard of Rahim? Okay, Rahim was built at the turn of the century, which is this house right here. Okay, some guy that was very, very wealthy. It's out near the sanatorium, out on that side of Melbourne. And great house, big Victorian, big megabucks, tycoon like Carnegie or something, right? Okay, so Rahim then, when he died, he gave it to the Catholic Church. So it was the head of the Cardinal of Australia, right? And it was owned in that ownership. Beautiful gardens, obviously, this whole 9 yards. Well, the wealthiest family now in Australia, I believe, is somebody other named Pratt. The people are into recycling and all that good stuff. They're a Jewish family. They're really multi-billionaires, right? Well, they went on a big search. They bought the house out of the estate of the diocese, okay? They bought this grounds, right? And it's an amazingly small lot. I was expecting from all the stories I'd heard of, like rolling like, something big, right? So it's fairly compact, and this house sits there right in your face when you get there. And they went on a worldwide international search for an architect. And they went, and they talked to Pei, and they talked to all the Europeans, and they talked to everybody. They came back to Australia, they interviewed Murcutt. Okay, and Murcutt wasn't sure he could get along, but philosophically they're very liberal, and they do all these sort of things that morally he thought would be cool, because he's got this whole agenda of no mechanical and pure and all this sort of stuff, right? Well, they came and they said, well, we don't really like most of the things you've done, we're not into tin particularly, but we really think that you'd listen well to us and you get the commission. And he said, because right now he's got a 2-year waiting list typically, right? And he said, well, I can't do anything for you for 2 years. I said, okay, well, wait. Okay, this is 10 years ago. Okay, the house was just being finished last October, okay? So we're talking 10 years and $10 million Australian, okay? Okay, we're talking about 2 went into the restoration that an associate did of the old house, and about 8 went into this little guy, okay?
Good Lord.
So again, another moral dilemma, because on one level, Mr. Murcutt is lecturing in Deakin University to the students, presenting his latest house for the Aboriginal lady on the North Coast that is totally about nothingness, right? And simplicity of the Aboriginal lifestyle, right? 2 weeks later, one of the professors takes him to this house. And this is the house that in the basement has a mechanical plant big enough to run part of my library, okay? So, again, everybody has dilemmas, right? But anyway, it's sort of like, like John Lautner meets Bruce Goff meets Bart Prince meets Glenn Murcutt, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
here's this little party pavilion on the back. This is the house. You'll have parties and large gatherings in the house. His den is in the house. It's perfectly restored. The chapel is restored. Everything's restored. And again, he's playing some very nice games. It's very sophisticated. Look at this little glass detail here. These are shading things to maintain shading on the glass.
Do they move up and down?
Wow, they do it at one level. You'll see in a minute, Janet. Because he's got this
Yeah.
other agenda he's trying to bring it to it, hoping they'll never turn the thermostat up. And again, Melbourne isn't quite as forgiving as Sydney is climatically, and we have some skepticism about that issue. But the steel, look at this. It's been under construction for 8 years. It's like these steel sections are made of parts, and you'd swear they invented a new extruding machine because they are so perfect. You could not imagine. A little swimming pool. And part of the site is curved, and then it goes straight. So he went to relate to that. So this
scale is curved, you can see all the concrete curves, all the bellies curved, everything's curving and it goes straight, right?
Oh my goodness.
There's for the boiler plant, the tribute to energy.
Wow.
Curved glass on the ends and corners there, quite nice.
Oh goodness.
And this is the entry, which is sort of,
Like
Yeah,
the roof.
yeah, but yeah, the roof is great. You got the old house here, but it's a strange sort of auto drop off, and you walk in the front door right there.
The two of them, it's really kind of.
Oh yeah, it's well done, but so there you come in, and she's a very proper lady. So the
Now, where will
picture-
they live, at the old house? or
No, they
this?
live here. The bedroom's up here. Master bedroom, kids' bedrooms are here. So they're a couple in their middle 40s, very wealthy. 2 kids live here. Master bedroom on the other end. Basic kitchen, dining room, living room down here. Guest bathroom on the left.
Where's the butler live?
Right, yeah, well, look at the staircase, but, I guess she's a little Jewish lady, about 5'2" tall, right?
Yeah.
And loves her gowns, and this is her entry point to the party, down the stair with that little curve on it. She will arrive, look at this living room.
Real skeleton.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Where do they sit?
Well, the furniture's not in yet, they were
Oh.
displaced the furniture, that's pretty tragic, because after all this, and I've gotta actually call Glenn, I'll probably call him this week, because what was happening was, he hadn't been to the house for a couple weeks, he would not take me here. He had somebody else, he was in town, but he said, well, I'm busy, right? Because he knew the world. I mean, look at this living room, there's the dining room. But anyway, they had some decorator, a la Sydney, New York, LA, do the interior furnishings. They are as bad gets, right? They are totally incorrectly scaled. They are just awful. This light fixture here is not Glenn's. I mean, he has a pretty good hand with the
Well,
interior.
how'd they lose control?
The faith? Well, they had a consultant architect that worked between him and them and all this. I mean, it's just bizarre.
That's
It's
too
just an
bad.
opportunity and
That's sad.
whatever, so.
With all that money that
Oh
they
yeah,
could
and
have
at
done
this
something.
point, he was almost not gonna, ever go back.
Oh God.
But like I said, the scale, I think, is really worked out. I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting, and maybe at one of the big parties, but here he's relating
Yeah.
all the lines, all the old, all the new. There's a courtyard between the new and the old. But look at this window. That is a hydraulic ram. That whole window opens as a vent out of the bedroom.
Look at that.
Each one of those little guys, it's probably about $25,000 head, right?
Yeah. Yes.
What?
And that is 6 pieces of steel. Talk about a steel fabricator, Rocky. I mean, you could run your hand over, and that's smoother than a baby's bottom. I mean, that's a column, right, made up of all this steel.
Wow.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Okay, here's the bed by the decorator undercover.
Yeah.
Glenn had it over here, and they lined it up on the column. So when you lay in bed, you look at the whole column, and it takes out your whole view of the park across the street. That was his associate that was sort of embarrassed. He was
God.
taking us
You know
around.
that. Yes.
You can see how
That's-
badly scaled the bed is for the
Mhm.
room. I mean, that's like a king jumbo bed, right? I mean, that's a
Mhm.
triple king with all this other lacquered wood stuff. Poor Glenn just,
Oh yeah.
But again, Glenn, here's a plumbing vent to the ceiling, pretty neat little airfoil. He had to connect it, so he sculpted it. But out of control, this is, okay, this is what the interior decorator did in the
This
party
is-
bathroom
This
at
is
the bottom,
this
same
is
house.
like this just kind of seals the
This is the one
coffin.
from LA, right?
Right, yeah.
This
exactly.
seals the coffin. Good God.
What is that called?
That is the
Right,
most,
right, yeah.
that is the
That-
most horriblest, if that's a word,
Yeah, right.
thing I've ever seen.
Those
in
are
my
men's and women's downstairs, okay. Nice faucets, really good. And the thing is that this is in the party part, sort of connected to the old house by the elevator. And unfortunately, the decorator did these same things in the other house,
Oh.
in the bathrooms, so I didn't, so poor, and there's the other room. This is the mechanical room for the.
That's like a nightmare. You wake up and you say, God.
Simon, you stayed in the old house, right? All that heat.
That takes your
No, this is
breath
the new
away.
house. This
Oh,
is,
this is the new
yes,
house.
this is for the new house, Rocky.
Keep
This
that
is for
puppy
Mr. Energy
warm.
Efficiency.
Oh.
Okay.
You know, that's
Yeah.
a criminal
That is a dilemma.
for a designer or
Look at
whatever,
the size of
to
that.
do that.
Yes.
Pay for it.
Right.